A week before the wedding, my fiance Kender told me he would first marry his first love, Leonore Griffin, before he could marry me. He said Leonore's mother had passed away and left a will asking them to marry. Leonore's mother always hoped she would marry a good man. I'm just fulfilling her last wish. Don't overthink it. But the company had already decided to launch the True Love Collection jewelry project on the day of our supposed wedding. He impatiently said, "That's only about a few $1 billion. Can it compare to the promise I made to Leonore's mother? If you really want that few billions of dollars, go find someone else to marry." Faced with his cold words, I didn't hesitate anymore. I immediately dialed my brother. "Terrence, I need a new groom." My brother, Terrence Benson, couldn't believe his ears. "You're calling off the wedding?" "No, Kendrick is marrying someone else." I forced a bitter smile. To be with Kendrick, I had worked so hard, facing countless challenges from my family just to get their approval for our relationship. Moreover, I decided to launch the True Love Collection jewelry line on our wedding day. But now, it was all in vain. Terrence was silent for a long time before saying, "Well, that only leaves Phelps. His family's been pushing him hard, and he's been looking for a marriage partner." I furrowed my brows. Phelps Cullen was my arch nemesis. When I got engaged, he cursed that I wouldn't get married, and now his words seemed to be coming true. Time was tight. I could only agree. "Then it's him. Ask him what he thinks. If it doesn't work, I'll figure something out." Terrence quickly blurted, "No need to ask. He'll definitely agree." "Why?" Before I could ask further, a group of people surrounded me. "You must be Kendrick's fiance. You're so beautiful. You're here waiting for Kendrick to finish work? He'll be down soon. You two are so in love." I gripped the steering wheel, lowering my gaze to hide the self-mockery in my eyes. Kendrick had introduced me to his colleagues and friends long ago. To everyone, we were the perfect couple, but no one would expect that he was about to marry someone else. After bidding them goodbye, Kendrick got into the car and handed me a necklace. "This is from Leonore. Yesterday at the funeral, you made her uncomfortable, so you should apologize when you have a chance." The necklace was clearly a freebie that came with a genuine purchase. I had seen the purchase record of the real one in Kendrick's shopping record a few days ago. I quietly said, "I don't want it." Kendrick frowned. "What's your problem now? You were the one who stormed into the funeral and said I wasn't her fiance, embarrassing her. She didn't even argue with you and still thought of giving you a gift. Are you really going to act like this?" I realized then that the man who once protected me no longer existed. Now, he cherished someone else. Kendrick rolled down the window in frustration, letting the wind blow. After a while, seeing that I wasn't trying to appease him, he said, "Forget it. I'll accompany you to try on wedding dresses today, and I won't hold it against you." This was the first time he'd backed down this year. At the bridal shop, the staff greeted us. "Mr. Collins, Ms. Benson, the 20 custom wedding dresses and suits you ordered are ready." But Kendrick wasn't focused on the clothes. He was staring at his phone, looking rather anxious. Noticing my gaze, he quickly put the phone away and looked at me apologetically. "Alicia, something's come up with Leonore. I need to leave right away. You go try on the dress. Just pick a suit for me. I trust your taste." With that, he rushed out and left me alone. The staff hurried over and tentatively asked, "Ms. Benson, would you like to choose the suit yourself?" I looked away and nodded. I would choose a suit, but it would not be for Kendrick. After all, my groom had changed. After picking up my wedding dress, I headed home, thinking Kendrick would be gone all night. But to my surprise, he returned before dinner. He walked up to me, holding a takeout box. "I made a special trip to get you Sugarland Sweetery snack." I glanced at the box of donuts. There were 3 less than usual, and one of them had a bite mark on it, clearly taken by someone. Half an hour ago, I had seen Leonore's post on Twitter. The picture in her post was of the donut I held in my hand. The caption read, "My husband buys me a late-night snack. He's such a trooper. I love him." I set down my fork with a bitter smile, suddenly losing my appetite. "I don't want it. Throw it away." Kendrick shot me a displeased look but held back from reacting. He sat down beside me and started complaining. "You don't know how pitiful Leonore is today. My parents went to her house and yelled at her, saying her family had no money and couldn't even throw a decent wedding. She was so upset she cried. Leonore just returned to the country and doesn't have much money. I want to give the money you gave me over to her." His shameless words made me feel sick. I looked at him sarcastically. "So now I'm supposed to organize your wife's wedding?" In the past, I cared about Kendrick so much that I would have done anything for him. But now, his actions had opened my eyes. Looking back, it seemed that everything Kendrick had done since Leonore returned was for her. He had forgotten that I was the one who was supposed to spend a lifetime with him. My response angered Kendrick. "What do you mean by that? Do you want to refuse me? You better think carefully. Leonore is my best friend, and you better make her happy. If not, I won't marry you." With that, he slammed the door and left. I was frustrated and went downstairs for a run in the park. I had just finished one lap when I received a call from Phelps. Thinking of Phelps, who always had a stern expression, I hesitated for a moment but still answered. "Once you agree to this marriage, you belong to me. If you try to run, I'll tie you up and bring you back." Phelps' first words were anything but pleasant. I stayed silent, and he continued, "Send me your ID card first and let's get the certificate. I'm afraid you'll back out." I suddenly felt something was off. 1,000 scenarios of how he might use our marriage to torment me flashed through my mind, but at this point, I had no other choice. I sighed and said, "See you at the wedding, Mr. Cullen." As soon as I finished speaking, Kendrick appeared behind me. "You're inviting Phelps to our wedding? I won't allow it." He stared at me, his eyes intense. "Alicia, haven't I told you not to associate with Phelps? He has ulterior motives. If you insist on inviting him to our wedding, I'll fall out with you." Before I could say anything, he had already made his threat. Kendrick had never liked Phelps. I didn't know why he had such an inexplicable hostility toward him. When Kendrick and I first got together, he was jealous even when I and Phelps argued over messages. Over time, I stopped keeping in touch with Phelps. Hearing him say Phelps had ulterior motives made me feel puzzled. Just as I was about to ask him more, Leonor suddenly leaned against Kendrick's shoulder. "Kendrick, you're hurting me." It was then I realized they were walking hand in hand. Kendrick cleared his throat awkwardly but didn't pull his hand away. Leonor looked at Kendrick with affection and, feigning helplessness, apologized to me. "Alicia, I'm sorry. Kendrick and I are just familiarizing ourselves with the wedding process. Please don't mind. You know I won't say anything about the people you hired to hurt me or ruin my mother's grave, but please, don't hurt Kendrick. True love cannot withstand testing." I didn't want to watch her perform her act and turned to leave. "Since you're so eager, I'll go find someone to beat you up tonight and dig up your mother's grave." Kendrick slapped me hard across the face. "Alicia, how can you be so vicious?" His face was dark, his chest heaving. I froze. I hadn't expected him to believe what others said so easily. At that moment, I realized that the 5 years of our relationship seemed to have earned me no trust at all from him. Fury rose in me, and I wanted to confront Kendrick, but Leonor stepped in front of him. "Alicia, please. After the wedding, I'll give Kendrick back to you. Please, don't hurt anyone around me, and don't hurt Kendrick." She was on the verge of tears as she said that. Kendrick quickly comforted her and shot me an angry glare. "Alicia, I know you come from a rich family, but don't think you can bully others just because you have a great background. You know I hate people who use power to oppress others. If you still want to marry me, stop causing trouble." After that, he warned me not to show up in front of them before the wedding. The next day, Kendrick contacted me again. He started scolding me as soon as the line was connected. "Alicia, you really dug up Mrs. Griffin's grave? I didn't expect you to be this kind of person." I was filled with confusion and had my assistant investigate, only to discover something shocking. I found out that Leonor's mother was never dead. I thought to myself, no wonder Leonor went so far as to dig up her own mother's grave to frame me. It turns out her mother's death was just a scam. I sent Kendrick a text, "Leonor's mother isn't dead. The truth is in the email I sent you." As for whether he would read it, that was no longer my concern. Phelps booked a flight for me to leave in 3 days. When Kendrick returned, he found me packing up. I had thrown away half of my clothes and sent a small portion to Nexura City. "Why are you packing already?" Kendrick asked, his expression hesitant. I casually replied, "I'm moving." He fell silent for a moment, seemingly not picking up on the oddity, and continued, "Your family's company is in Nexura City, and we're supposed to settle there after marriage. Well, it makes sense to start packing early." After that, he looked at me with a stern gaze. "You need to apologize to Leonor as soon as possible. Don't make things difficult for me. Just apologize on the wedding day. What do you think?" With that, he put down his phone and began searching for his ID card. Today was the day he and Leonor were getting their marriage license. He didn't return until late in the evening. I opened my phone and found a message from Leonor. In the picture, Kendrick and she were dressed in a couple of outfits, lying in bed together. I closed my eyes, but the sharp pain in my heart couldn't be suppressed. I forced myself to push the emotion down and turned off my phone. Late that night, my phone beside the pillow vibrated every hour. Leonor kept sending me videos of her and Kendrick taunting me. The next morning, I received a message from Phelps. "Ms. Benson, the flowers have bloomed. It's time for you to come back to me." Attached was a picture of our marriage license. Behind them was a vibrant red rose. I never thought the flower I had casually given him years ago was still being cared for. A strange feeling stirred inside me. I replied with one word, "Okay." I put down my phone and started organizing the work files on my computer. Just then, Kendrick returned. He was packing his things and said, "I'm going to stay with Leonor for a few days. She's been busy with wedding preparations. The wedding is the day after tomorrow, so make sure you're there on time." Then, he explained a whole lot, saying he was just going to help out and asking me not to cause any more trouble. "Yeah, I won't go." I lowered my eyes and said quietly. After last night, any remaining feelings for him had completely faded. My calmness seemed to worry Kendrick a bit. He hesitated for a moment, but then, thinking of Leonor's sweet face, his grip on his phone loosened. He thought, "Alicia loves me so much. She won't leave me no matter what." With that, he sighed in relief, stopped paying attention to me, and left. I watched his retreating figure and made a phone call. That night, a helicopter landed in the plaza. A man walked up and said, "Ms. Benson, your helicopter has arrived. It will take you to Nexura City in half an hour." I nodded and handed him an envelope. "Tomorrow, take this envelope to the wedding venue. It's my wedding gift for the bride and groom."